It's time to tell the rest of your plans to fuck off for the next 3 months because you have MMOs to play. And I know that's strange to say in 2026 because apparently this genre is dead. I guess these 3 games didn't get the memo. Starting at the end of March going into April and at the end of May, you're gonna have 3 different MMOs that you'll be able to play completely for free that you can just test out that are absolutely gonna wreck your sleep schedule as you clink that last little bit of hope that you will be able to find some kind of shred of happiness as we careen towards this endless pit of despair and sadness. That got darker than I wanted. Very fast. Anyway, MMOs. The first test is coming on March 27th and running through March 30th for the classically inspired MMO, Monsters and Memories, which if you've been on this channel, you probably know what it is. But if by any chance you don't know, here's a quick refresher. Monsters and Memories is an EverQuest-like MMO that leans heavily into the 1999 nostalgia of the slow, steady grind through a dangerous world with very little hand-holding, where you'll need to lean on others, ask for help, and party up to really get the most out of the game. I'm not kidding about asking for help. I couldn't find a place for a quest for several hours. I had to ask where the Paladin Guild was because I had to go kill a Paladin for my Shadow Knight quest. As soon as I asked for help, I immediately found where that was. But that's the kind of game this is. This is literally a game where if you try and do things all by yourself, it will take time, but you will eventually find it. But if you ask for help, you will be engaging with people and talking and having social interactions, which is kind of the name of the game. Social interactions. Core gameplay loops emphasize vertical progression around killing mobs through open world non-instance zones, pulling to camp spots rather than running through daily dungeons, with an emphasis on discovering and engaging with various NPC factions. The game already boasts various trade skills, player classes, and races to choose from. It even has housing with pre-designated in-world areas.
How do you plan on implementing player housing? More like pre-designed house plots or less restricted? It's already in. And it is pre-designated areas, pre-designated structures. Matter of fact, you're looking at some player housing right here, even. You can find different places to lease houses throughout the world. I'll be curious to see if we don't have more housing than demand, to be honest with you. Will you be able to have roommates? You can have roommates in your house. You can invite random people in. Some of the houses will be for guilds. You can open a little shop if you'd like.
While in many ways it plays a lot like EverQuest, especially early EverQuest circa 1999, with the intentional stripping of quality of life, like vendors that don't buy all of your junk so you have to go find the right vendor that does, or sell to the one vendor who will buy it for pennies, no auction house dropping your gear when you die, including your spellbook. That's kind of honestly like Ultima Online in 1997, which is pretty brutal. But there are also still some key differences. For example, the combat itself, I would say, while still grounded and obviously still very much slower paced, it isn't quite as just the same still press auto attack, sit back, do nothing, and then press kick every 10 seconds. It's slightly more engaged than that. You do get skills and depending on your classes, spells as well. There's a little bit more activity here than playing a rogue in 1999 on EverQuest. But best of all, like all these games in this video, you get to try it out yourself for free. Just go check out their website and join their Discord. I've linked their website down below because that has all the info you need, including their Discord. And of the games in this video, this is the one that most imminently you will be able to be playing more frequently because this is all in the lead up to their early access, which should be coming in June. Their closed beta is currently ongoing right now, so if you enjoy yourself during this test, you really won't have to wait too long to actually play. Right after that Monsters and Memories test ends, you can jump straight into another one though. Like literally right after. Adelon Online Adventures will be running a playtest from April 1st starting at 5 p.m. Eastern through April 6th. To play, all you need to do is create an account on their website, which again, I've linked down below. Adelon Online Adventures is another EverQuest-like. It used to be called Evercraft Online. And while it does feel very similar to Monsters and Memories, it still has its own distinct charm that goes beyond its graphics. It's hard to describe it without actually playing Adelon, but there's something about the world building of this classically inspired MMO that feels incredibly immersive. Like everything just feels so intentionally placed within the world to invoke feelings and emotion, from NPCs to props to the use of music. Everything feels like it's there for a reason. Like Monsters and Memories, Evercraft, or Ultima Online, Evercraft Online is a mob grind focused MMO that leans into the idea of camping and exploration, though it also has a handful of quests. Though Adelon does differ a little bit here because it does not shy away from the idea that you can solo to max level, though they do stress that it will be slower and lonelier, and you'll miss out on the coolest content. Duos and trios multiply the amount of content and excitement you'll be able to enjoy, and groups of 5 to 6 will be tackling the hardest content, with plans for larger guild-based events planned for the future. It boasts a wide array of crafting with everything from metalworking and leatherworking to poison crafting and beekeeping, with a single character able to master all of them, if you put in the time. Adelon Online eschews some of the more modern quality of life, but it doesn't have quite as an antagonistic approach to them the way Monsters and Memories does. I'd say the path this game is heading down so far is a slightly gentler version while still maintaining the classic spirit of adventure of those classic MMOs with a focus on social interaction, exploration, and grounded gameplay. It's another game that has seemingly encased the spirit of EverQuest inside of it and built around that. Adelon is one of those games that I think I've enjoyed just exploring as much as any game I've played, from discovering a slide in the halfling area to just running out as far as I could from the ogre city until I stopped seeing snow. I really recommend giving this game a shot if you haven't yet. Their playtests are infrequent, so get into this one if you can. They have a wide array of classes to play, a wide array of races to try out, and different areas to go and try and see. They have very distinct vertical slices of the game to get a feel for how the game is actually going to play. Now on Monsters and Memories, they do have a PvP server, and Adelon Online, they're not really going for PvP, though they will have things like dueling. So those two games that you're testing in April and March, they're not gonna have much PvP. The next game we're gonna be talking about that's gonna have tests going into May has a lot more PvP. This is where we're diverging away from these classic grindy MMOs to something very different for our next test. The game that looks a whole lot like World of Warcraft in a Crowfall skin suit, right down to the PvP and the instance dungeons, and it's dropping its first playtest since Ashes of Creation's implosion. That's notable because this game saw a huge spike in interest in the wake of Ashes of Creation's collapse, largely, well, because of its PvP focus, as well as some proactive work of the team behind it, and honestly, well, because there was this seemingly movement from every content creator to cover Scars of Honor right around the time that it collapsed. It was one of the funniest coincidences I think I've ever seen in this space, where a game that had not been seeing coverage all of a sudden got a ton of coverage in the wake of a sudden collapse of another game. And one that and games that seemingly don't have a whole lot in common except the passing PvP relation. I want to point out here that even though Ashes of Creation and Scars of Honor are being connected here a lot, they're not both open world PvP games. Ashes of Creation is completely different in how they approach PvP. Scars of Honor is all about instancing, it's all about battlegrounds and arenas. So just, if you've come here because you've heard of Scars of Honor because of Ashes of Creation, that's something very important to know, and so that's what we're going to talk a little bit about when explaining Scars of Honor as you go into this playtest. The playtest is going to be from April 30th all the way through May 11th. In order to play, you'll need to go over to the Steam page and opt in. This will be a technical test for Scars of Honor, and while not the first test for the game, as the game has been in development for quite a few years at this point, it's probably going to be one of the largest for the game. I want to stress that early because I don't think the game has ever had as many eyes on it as it has right now, and I'm expecting it to get slammed more than they have before. So I'm just preaching some patience from people here, as well as trying to set some expectations while hoping I'm completely wrong and that Beast Burst is 100% ready for the influx of new players. But what the hell is the game? Well, Scars of Honor is a WoW-inspired free-to-play MMORPG in development for about the last 5 years or so from Beast Burst Entertainment. Scars of Honor I found intriguing at first because it looked like it was trying to harness some of what made World of Warcraft special early on, including something I have seen very few MMOs do well since: battleground PvP and arena PvP. What we've seen so far of those looks very kinetic in the same way that WoW PvP does. Not exactly super fast time to kill, but more along the lines of strategy encounters, although WoW's PvP honestly varies greatly based on generation of PvP and the gearing levels. So we'll see if it plays out similarly in this, or if the TTKs are longer or shorter once we actually get in and try. But with a whole lot of extra customization in this game, I think the builds are going to be becoming important in this, especially in the PvP, which we'll talk about just in a sec. They also wanted to bring in dungeons throughout the leveling process by including procedurally generated dungeons that scale while you level and add increased difficulty if you want it, new mechanics and increased loot. That increased difficulty comes from offering choices within the dungeon where you get to choose if you want to make it harder as you go. It's a very gamified look at dungeons, coming from like the procedural generation as well as the choosing of like, you know, do you want to add more bonuses to this dangerous dungeon or not as you go through it, versus the more like handcrafted visual storytelling type dungeons. It feels more arcadey in a way. These feel more like World of Warcraft style dungeon crawls than the other two games on this list. And so if that's what you're looking for, this might be the playtest you're more excited about. The other highlight though has to be the 2-tier customization of your class. First, there's a talent web system like an ARPG. Think Path of Exile or Diablo, and it's already looking pretty extensive. But there's also a secondary, somewhat randomized system called scars, which you get from various achievements like killing bosses or from doing different things that add bonuses or ability changes. These two work in concert with your class to create a build which seems like it can add some more depth and complexity, both in PvE and PvP. Out of the 3 games on here, this promises to be the most eye-opening, as even though there have been tests of Scars of Honor before, this will be showing the most up-to-date version to the largest audience. Hell, even when I took a look at the game years ago, it was nothing like this. They have changed the way the game was, scrapping a lot of things, de-scoping a lot of things, and really changing the focus of the game to really narrow it down and change what they wanted to make the game into. So I'll be going in completely blind and seeing what it's all about. But at the very least, you have 3 MMOs to go and try over the next 3 months to take your time and actually have some fun and play games and enjoy them. And that's really what it comes down to, is just go and have fun. Because we all know right now, if there's one thing we could all use, it's just have a little fun. And if one of these games doesn't sound like a game you want to play, just do me a favor and don't be a dick about it. And instead, let's talk about the one you want to play. In the words of Coke Carters, let's try not to yuck someone else's yum, basically. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Redwood Flynn, and I hope you have an absolutely wonderful day. And if you see my corpses in any of these games, just walk past it and pretend you didn't see it. Thank you so much, and have a wonderful, wonderful day.